be able to hold on to a branch with something like a jaguar or an ocelot hanging on to them dangling. So they have a very, very, very hard grip strength like that. And so that's why I always tell people that if they grip onto you and are pulling you in because they're just trying to nibble on you and figure out what you are, you gotta rotate your hand out because you're not gonna win by pulling against them.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. They're pretty relaxed little creatures.
Yeah, they are. We've seen them, you know, in the zoos and stuff, and I've taken him to Chattanooga Zoo forever, ever since he's been little. And we've always seen those in there, but we've never, you know, when I seen y'all have baby sloths, I was like, because we always both love to go see them.
And so both Dash and Zoe, they came from the same place, and they passed a final ambassador test, meaning that they actually genuinely enjoy being held by people. So they're trained, when I say trained, it's more so adapted to being held on to people from a very young age. So the mothers are clicker trained to know that when they hear that clicker noise, they're going to get a little bit of a treat, whether it be a banana or some other slice of fruit that they enjoy. And then the breeder would borrow baby for about 10-15 seconds. And then as they get just a little bit older and a little bit older, that time will slowly increase as well. Until when the mother weans them about 4 or 5 months old, they're used to being held upwards to 30 minutes to an hour a day.
Wow.
So it's a slow.
Yeah, I was gonna say it takes a lot of time with them.
Yeah. And once they are weaned and they're ready to go to their new homes, they go through a final ambassador test, which basically is just where the breeder will be holding him or the baby and walk up to an area where they enjoy spending time. So for him, it would be in this basket. If he's not on one of us, he's in this basket because that's where he likes to be at. And so we would walk up to the basket with him, and if he wants to go back into the basket, then he would fail the ambassador test. It means that he would rather just be hanging out on his own. But if he would rather stay on the breeder, and instead of going back to a place that they enjoyed, they would pass. That test is also repeated the other way, so the baby would be in the basket or hammock or wherever they enjoyed spending time, and the breeder would walk up to that basket and offer them to come to him, and if they wanted to come, then that would be a pass.
Wow.
And so Dash displays that behavior very well, because when he's in this basket, if he's taking him a good nap, all I have to do is pull back the cover and just start talking to him and saying his name, and he'll uncover himself and he'll start coming up there and climbing at me, trying to get up on
So
me.
he likes to be held.
Yeah. And it's the same way I could be standing here with him wrapped around me, cutting up vegetables or something, and right next to his basket, and he has no desire to go back in there. So
I don't
these guys
see how
are,
you get anything done. I've been holding him all day.
yeah. So the purpose of these guys is to obviously provide a really nice little experience with being able to say you've held a sloth and encountered with a sloth, but also on the other side of it, so my job is to let the public know, and on lives and everything as well, that these guys are further removed from the rainforest than we are from the pilgrims first coming over. So that's generations upon generations upon generations that these guys have been bred in captivity. So like I said, their breeder has been doing it for over 30 years, so that's over 30 years, generations of sloths being removed. And I say removed, and a lot of people are like, oh no, you're not supposed to remove sloths. But his Sloth Zero, the first sloth that he started with, was an injured female from the rainforest that could not be returned to the rainforest. It was a significant enough of an injury that she could not live on her own. She couldn't fend for herself or climb naturally, but with a few adaptations and adjustments in captivity, she could live a happy life. And so that's where it started it all. And the three-toed sloths were hoping that the three-toed sloths have a lot more specific diet that can't really be varied like the two-toeds can. So they're working in Florida to get some of the sarcopia trees growing. That's the trees that they spend their time in, and that's the trees they eat the leaves of. And so they haven't been successful just yet, but if they can get some groves growing down there, then hopefully we could be able to start, making some progress towards conserving the three-toed sloths as well. It's a lot like I use the analogy of the white rhino. If the white rhinos were not to have been bred in captivity, they would no longer be around. So these guys aren't endangered yet, But we're trying to prevent it from getting to that point.
I just have one question. Is this gonna be posted on TikTok?
I think we're on a live right now, so it won't be like posted, but
TikTok?
Possibly.
yeah, we're on TikTok right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cute name.
So down in Costa Rica and Guatemala and places like that they're native to, they're having a lot of issues with the natives going out and taking young sloths or babies that are still on the mother's back from the rainforest and coming out as a cruise ship docks, and they will set up a little roadside petting zoo for the people that are on that cruise to come off and to pay the natives to take pictures and hold the baby sloth. A lot of people are not informed of the practices that they use to get those animals. They advertise it obviously like, oh, this is my pet, I've had him for years. But if they are unlucky enough to find an older sloth that is not, not gonna have people handling them and things like that, and maybe he tries to bite, they will pull the teeth of those sloths.
Oh, no.
Not only that, but they also have a whole ecosystem that lives on the sloth back in the wild. That obviously doesn't look the best in pictures. And so they will dump them in a bucket of bleach and scrub all of that off of their back. That is detrimental to them because they rely on that ecosystem to provide them the bacteria that they use to digest their food with. So a sloth that has had those things done and no longer has the means to protect itself from predators for the teeth and everything, then that is bad news for a sloth. Their life expectancy is only 2 or 3 days after that.
Oh, wow. That's sad. You and him could just take a nap, couldn't you, Drew?
Yeah.
His eyes are wide open now.
Tried to close his eyes like 5 times already.
And so with the encounters that we provide here to the public, our hope is that people can get their sloth fix here, where these animals have been ethically bred for this, to be education animals for people of the issue that they're facing where they're native to, so that they would spend time here instead of feeling like when they go on a cruise that if they see a little roadside petting zoo set up, they would not feel tempted to support that practice. And a lot of people in our lives are really skeptical about, they watch just a few seconds of our videos and they see somebody holding a sloth and they're like, no, you're not supposed to touch that sloth, you're harming the ecosystem on their back. And you can see, obviously we're not harming the sloth, he is in love with this. And that's because they have been bred for specifically this. It's the conservancy agencies that are down in places like Costa Rica and Guatemala, it's their job to tell the public, don't touch sloths, don't hold sloths, don't take sloths, because of the issue that the battle that they're fighting down there where they're native to. It would essentially be the difference between holding a house cat and going out and picking up a feral cat and trying to bring it in and do what we're doing here. It would be a totally different experience if these guys were wild and still used to being in the rainforest.
Yeah, because I'd always heard you couldn't hold them either, and then when I seen this and I got to research and I thought, well, these are theirs,
Yeah.
so they're taken care of.
Do you have camels?
We do. We have 4 camels.
Next time.
Next time.
Where are you guys from?
Just Northwest Georgia.
Okay.
Yeah, just past, probably about 30 miles down from Chatsworth, Georgia. So, yeah, well, I left a little bit early because I wasn't sure how long I didn't want to be running late, so we got here a little early.
Y'all ever had any other sloths before the other troops out of this one?
No, these are the only 3 that we've ever had. We're hoping to get another one, and we'll name her Chloe once we get her, so we'll have Flash, Dash, Zoe, and Chloe. But these are the only 3 that we've had so far.
They just need one baby at a time, don't they?
Yeah, it takes a lot to keep them guys healthy and how they're supposed to be. And you can tell it's not too bad in here today because it's a lot hotter outside, but it's a constant 78 degrees in here. Their temperature requirements are very specific, and that's because that they can't regulate their own body temperature. And so if the temperature drops much below 75, that can be bad news for a sloth. They rely on the temperature to be able to maintain the healthy gut biome that they have in their stomach, and that has the bacteria that helps them to digest their food. If the temperature were to drop much below that, some of that bacteria would begin to die off, and they would not have the means to digest their food anymore.
Wow. Y'all have to really watch it in the winter months, don't you?
Yeah. And then they've got outdoor enclosures as well, but we have to watch the weather and make sure that it's gonna be, just the right temperature and humidity and everything out there for them to be able to go out.
It ain't bad, is it? I was just scared at first. Now, did their hair like get different colors? Cause I've seen one like a light brown color.
Yeah, so when they're babies, they're a real dark chocolatey brown like that, and then as they get older, and they get their adult fur starting to grow in, it will turn a lot lighter. They don't really shed much at all, so it's just a slow, gradual change that their hair will go through to become that lighter color. And these are the 2-toed sloths, so they have a little bit of a nose that comes out a little bit longer, but the 3-toed sloths that a lot of people have seen pictures of, they have the kind of smushed faces, they have the markings that makes them look like they're always smiling, they have the band across their eyes that makes them look like a raccoon,
Yeah.
but
Is there an area they do not like to be pet?
Not really with Dash. With Zoe, she was our first baby sloth. When we got Flash, she was already 3 years old. But Zoe was a lot more particular about where she liked to be touched.
Mm-hmm.
And with any first child, you can imagine, if they don't like it done this way, then you do it that way. And everything's catering just to how they want it. And so when she first started showing signs of not really enjoying being touched on her sides or her belly or around her ears, we were like, okay, that's completely up to you. You just let us know.
Yeah.
And because of that, because we never really worked with her on that, she does not like her sides or her belly being touched. So much so that if someone were to ignore that, we tell them about that. Sometimes she will lay back and show us her belly. If they were to touch her belly, she gets so upset that we might have to end the encounter. Everything is obviously human safety is our first and primary concern. So if one of these sloths were to, out of nowhere bite someone that was uncalled for and, out of nowhere, that would be an immediate, take the sloth away. That is not, we would tend to the human. But the sloth, and animal comfort is number 2.
Yeah.
And so if somebody is just not listening to us and completely, ignoring what we've advised them to do and how the animal is comfortable being petted and things like that, then we would definitely consider ending the encounter because of
I'm
a
sure they've got
situation like that.
personalities just like everybody
Oh,
else.
yeah.
Do you
They
have,
definitely do.
do you have otters?
Hmm?
Do you have otters?
We don't, so that's the next thing that it has been talked about possibly getting. I think that would be a really cool addition to the farm, but I'm not sure. That enclosure would be definitely intensive and take a while to build, but that has been the talk of the next animal that we might get. And I think that they're really fun to
We'll
watch.
get you some more encounters. We'll tell you mom and daddy too. That way they can do some stuff up here with you. Cause it's not a bad drive, it's just straight up 411.
Yeah.
but me and him has always had adventure day, just me and him.
Yeah,
And we hadn't had one in a while, and I was like, we need to have an adventure day.
that's the way to do it.
He's an all grandbaby, by the way.
You gotta spoil them.
Yep. Time up? Almost.
Yeah, but like I said, we started just a little bit late, so we can go just a little bit longer.
I might have to leave you up here, mightn't I? I think you done fell in love with him.
Yeah, I did.
I know.
You're taking a picture?
I got two. You want me to take some more?
No, you're fine. I just want to put, I just want to post myself in my phone.
So, yeah, I got two of them. And when I leave, you can go take him to lunch before I come back. Will y'all please tell me what I need to do? 'Cause
What is the next thing that you're gonna?
It's a
The
kangaroo.
encounter at 2.
yeah, it's at 2:00.
Okay, big Gru's hand feet, yeah, Ken, right, yeah.
I just wanna make sure I come in the right place or.
Yeah, it'll be down here again.
Okay.
Yeah, they'll just come right down here, and just kinda, make yourself where you can be seen
Okay.
over there.
My kangaroo's gonna beat me up.
No. So the baby kangaroos are very, very, very sweet, and our male kangaroo that we have out there, I don't know if he'll be going out there or not, is actually a friendly male kangaroo, and that is quite rare to
Yeah.
get. The breeder that we first started getting our kangaroos from, we actually have one of his babies right now, one of the males, and we're just have him as a favor to the breeder because we bottle feed our babies up to like 16 months or something like that, which is very expensive to bottle feed a baby kangaroo because they actually take puppy formula. That Espalac in bags is very, very expensive, and when you have so many of them as well, it is prohibitively expensive to bottle feed baby kangaroos, which is pretty nice that we get to, people will come and pay to feed the baby kangaroos, so it begins to, settle out price-wise, but, yeah, no, the babies are all really nice, and the male out there, they'll give you the whole spiel about it too. They can be very, very dangerous animals, but when you bottle feed one for 16 months, which is months and months past what they are required to have, they get pretty friendly with people, and we're actually able to go out there and interact with them on a good day. He has days where he's like, no, not feeling it, don't bring anybody in here.
Yeah.
And we respect that, but
Do you have any sea animals?
No, we're not near the sea.
all farm animals here. Well, we do have that iguana, and we have the leopard geckos, and, bearded dragon.
Yeah, he's seen that one when we staying out there. Oh, you seen that one? I seen a peacock up there.
Yeah. And those peacocks, they used to always stay up there around the house, and for whatever reason recently, they've started to come down here and pester us. And everybody down here, the guests love it, but it's like, we want them to go back up to the house because they come down here and they poop on everything, and we gotta
Yeah.
come behind them and clean it up.
What about the dogs?
He loved the dogs.
Yes, we've got a lot of dogs. I don't even know how many dogs we have. I think we
Them
have,
two big old white ones that were.
yeah, I think there's 3 Great Pyrenees.
Sell it now.
All right, well, me and you're gonna go get some lunch and then we'll come back. We'll take care of this. I know. He's like, I'm done.
And to give you a love pat before you let go.
Wow. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You can see when I put him back down in here in the basket, I've got to completely unhook his back feet from me.
He don't
so I
want in
can't- And a lot of times I'll set him back here and he'll start reaching up even higher at me.
Oh.
And I have to close it back up to keep the humidity and everything in there, and have can
So
go back to
his
sleep.
stayed really warm.
Yes, yeah.
Wow.
Alrighty, well, we're all set. We can head out. We're gonna hit the hand sanitizer one more time.